Hey everybody, welcome to Investing in Cannabis. I'm your host, Brandon David. Thank you so much for being here. If it's your first time, welcome. This is the show we talk about investing in cannabis, startups, founders, investors, how to get there, how to make it, how to start. Welcome. You're going to learn a ton here. Today we have a very special episode. I've been looking forward to this one. As I alluded to last week, we have a special guest host, Jocelyn of Headset. You're going to be seeing a lot more of her. She did a really great job. I didn't give her any topics, any notes, any timing. She sat down, she winged it for 15 minutes. And she did a pretty great job. I'm pretty excited about the future. We also have Sam. She interviews Sam of the ADA, which is a really, really important Arizona organization for helping companies get off the ground there. They offer all kinds of resources. We did this interview out in Arizona at the golf tournament. This is one of the three that we did. Particularly fun because, again, I wasn't the host, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I learned a ton. You're going to learn a ton. Tune in, listen up, get acquainted.
Sam, what's happening, my friend? It's so good to see you.
It's a gorgeous day.
I know, and we're here in person after a year plus of friendship.
That's right.
On Zoom. And
see you later,
on ADA
COVID.
Meetings.
That's right. We're here.
Yep.
In real life.
We're here in real life.
It's a beautiful thing.
I know.
May 5th, May in Arizona. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. So, okay, it'd be wonderful. So you're what, 2 years into this industry?
Yes, ma'am.
And the whole time with ADA?
Yes.
So can you tell people, well, actually, first let me set some context because the Arizona market, for me personally, and Headset, I've just been getting to know it over the last year. And so when I first came in and wanted to understand kind of what the supply chain was like, who are the players here, I got introduced to you, and the community said, hey, you have to talk to Sam. ADA has 70% of the retailers in the community as a part of the network. This is a great place to start and understand about the Arizona market.
Yeah.
So kind of with that context of just like our relationship and partnering together, tell everyone about what you guys do, what are you representing for retailers, how has it changed from pre-Prop 207 and now being a legal state?
Well, I love the Arizona market. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think what makes us special is that we are largely a forgotten or misunderstood market, right? We live in the shadows of the two largest and most mature markets in Colorado and California, and a lot of our huge milestones align with big milestones in other big markets, right? So Prop 207 passed at the same time that New Jersey's Question 1 did. And when that kind of phenomenon or dynamic happens, we get lost in that conversation, which frankly, Arizona is totally okay with. For those of you who are watching this, right? Though? Chris Paul, right? Sorry to my Bay Area basketball fans, right? But the Suns are on a hot streak, right? And no one knew the Suns until this year. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where we're at in the cannabis analog.
Well, so what changed from Prop 207, and I'm forgetting the prior proposition because that didn't pass, and that was just a couple years ago.
So we can all forget it. Yeah.
So, well, what was the change? And was it a community-driven change? Was it policymakers? What was really driving? Because it passed with, extreme support. I don't remember what the actual numbers were.
Yeah. So I think there's a variety of different factors at play. One is that we lost in 2016 by just a couple of percentage points. And we talked to a couple of folks who know numbers, and just through actuarial tables, we knew that if the same electorate in 2016 voted in 2020, just by the people who passed away who were cannabis prohibitionists in their voting record, we would have won. So that isn't to say that we worked hard or we didn't change anything, because that isn't the truth. We actually dramatically reapproached issues of social inequity with Prop 207 compared to the question in 2016. And you'll see that in the coming months, the rollout of the social equity program here in Arizona, which 26 licenses are available through that program. But also some of the, just outside of the licensing, some of the equity issues and the community justice reinvestment dollars that are going to go in. We have about 250,000 Arizonans that are eligible for the expungement provisions that were a part of Proposition 207. That process starts in the next 90 days, and we're really, really excited about a lot of those non-commerce things that happened with Prop 207. But that also, I think, is the reason why we were much more successful with voters in 2020. To answer your root question, is that the fact is that when we went to the question in 2016 and when we went earlier, and in fact, just fun fact for the folks that are watching this at home, our question for medical marijuana was the same year that California did in 1996. So cannabis policy has been alive and well in Arizona for 25 years. And
Wow.
and we're just lost the first time, right? And you know, thanks to some of the efforts of the Arizona government and just the efforts of the California government, a lot of Californians now call Arizona home. So that plus just the natural growth and the natural adoption and normalization of cannabis, I think really set us up for success in 2020.
Yeah. So what is the cannabis community like here? And I'll kind of put some context to this in that. So I work with multiple different states, or I'm trying to launch Headset in multiple different states. So I get really ingrained in the community and I have a good sense of what each cannabis community is like. And what was really unique to me about Arizona was how tight-knit and small it is.
Yeah.
I'm based in California and I'm all over the state meeting with people working throughout the supply chain. And our culture in California is very different than a lot of the people that I'm talking to on the East Coast, and very different than the people that
Absolutely.
I'm working with here in Arizona.
Yeah.
So like, how would you describe the community here and the culture of cannabis for someone
Absolutely.
who's not in Arizona?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, and it provides an absolutely wonderful prompt for me to nerd out a little bit on my love for Arizona. So just a totally random fact that is only useful in conversations like this and like cocktail parties that are a few cocktails too long, is that the rooftop air conditioner was not covered by the Federal Housing Authority until 1947. Right? So the fact that Phoenix and Arizona are popular places to live is a post-World War II phenomenon.
Oh,
Which means that there really aren't a lot of entrenched communities in the state that have the traditional societal power that we understand today, right? Of course, there are people who have lived in Arizona for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, but those aren't the folks that are traditionally not rightfully in those positions of power. But with that context, I just wanted to lay out the fact that because of that newness, right, we don't have, legacy families to run up against, or, these like long-time fiefdoms that have like built power. So it's relatively easy for someone to move to Arizona and create their own future. And you see that in any industry. And I think most predominantly in cannabis, since really that's America's last frontier industry, I think you're seeing that play out in unique ways here in Arizona.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, and so then on the flip side, what is it like, what is, if you're on the business side of the cannabis industry here? Again, you're working with like, what, 70% of the retail community?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So also, this has been unique to me in that when I'm participating in these Zoom meetings every couple of weeks, it's like everyone's got their videos on.
Yeah.
They're so interactive. I'm working with a dozen plus different associations, and just that collaboration, the openness of sharing information. Yeah. That is very unique, I think, to Arizona. So like, what are the actual operators, what is their culture like? Did you guys all have to come together to get Prop 207 off the ground? And how are people now working together?
Yeah, I think that what you're kind of nipping at the heels at is this reality that something that underpins the Arizona market, and I know that this isn't unique, but I think that some of the more mature markets have lost their connection to this, is that it remains the fact that our largest competitor is the illicit market. And the only way that we can attack that is if we work as a community of regulated cannabis entrepreneurs together. And that's something that has been at the core of the association, and frankly, it's been at the core of the Arizona ecosystem since the beginning. And that has been our guiding light. So in some ways, it's a lot like the National Football League or the National Basketball Association, where we all are different franchises and teams, right? So on game day, you're my opponent and I'm running after you, right? But at the end of the day, let's come together and let's make the sport a better sport. Mm-hmm.
Which I love how you do that in your emails, by the way. So Sam, whenever he sends out his, monthly or sometimes weekly emails, you'll put Seneca quotes in there. Like you'll put, I think I've seen maybe some Eckhart Tolle, or you're very spiritual in which also I love about the cannabis community. It's one of the things that drives me is that people in this it's not just a business, and that's part of why I was asking that question. Yeah. It really is an industry that just so deeply touches people at their core for a bevy of different reasons. Yes, but I just have to say, I love that you pepper that in, because I've I spent my career working in tech, and I can't remember any emails in which, you know, an executive director or a founder of a company was really kind of coming at this conscious, you know, leadership.
Well, and I think, and I would love to take some credit for that, but at the end of the day, you know, the medium that we work with has that thread through civilization, where tech, you know, was a relatively recent phenomenon, right? That you know, kind of connection to the roots isn't really there, whereas, you know, at least 30,000 years, probably tens of thousands of years before that, hemp and cannabis have been an integral part of human civilization. So I think to ignore that fact, to ignore the legacy market, it's the only reason why the regulated market is where it's at today. I think those things do a disservice to consumers and to every piece of the ecosystem. So that's one of the reasons why that thing is, that idea is always central to the work that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that sharing and collaboration is important. Okay, so one of the other really interesting things to me about, and actually one of the most fun things to me about working in the Arizona market is because everything is so new and the business is now really just maturing in a recreational, you know, it's going from medical to recreational, which means it's more big business, I'll say. So with that, it's like y'all are learning about new technologies and new partners, and so much of this is just new to the community. And so I also have to say, I very much appreciate you always giving me the opportunity to come kind of talk about what we're doing at Headset and kind of put emails out there for us, because that's one of the like things that it's really can be a challenge to educate a new cannabis community when you're just coming out of a policy change, when all like heads are down and just servicing demand. So you don't really have time often at this early of a stage to be thinking strategically or understanding really how this market is going to unfold in terms of the partners that are, and by partners, I mean the ancillary companies, the producer companies that you're going to have continuing to come in from other states that are going to be big brands out here. So a lot of this is all happening in real time. And so I'm just wondering, you know, as you're like, what does that look like for Arizona right now? Like, are there like handfuls of tech partners in particular is what I'm interested in? Yeah. And are there any kind of pain points in the supply chain being this early that you're hoping they're going to solve? Yeah, I think there's a lot in that question, but I'll answer it in a couple of different ways. One, I'll say that Arizona's always been a very libertarian place, right? We're the home of Barry Goldwater, right? And because of that, we're never going to be a market, or at least I'll say it's very unlikely that we'll ever be a market that mandates something like metric or, you know, any of those kind of central hubs. It's always very much of a let the market decide type of place. And I think in the tech environment where we're at right now, that allows companies to be able to thrive that have a product that works well for their consumer, both directly and indirectly through that end consumer of the dispensary. Right, so you know, essentially every POS solution is here in Arizona. Every data solution is attempting to be here in Arizona, and I think those that are positive solutions for their customers are the ones that are thriving. And you know, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. For many people, cannabis is a left of center idea, and what I just outlined is a very right of center, pro-market, free market idea. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about this plant. It's universal, it's utilitarian, and whoever approaches it is who receives it in that way. And I think that for me anyway, that's that tech landscape. Is whoever is going to be successful is who the market wants to use. And that's one of the beautiful things about and who
Arizona.
invests the time. Like the reason I was asking that question is because when I'm working with so many different operators in different states, there's very much, not every tech is everywhere, because it's impossible to do that because, and I'll speak from a tech company side, there is no way to really, you'd have to have so many boots on the ground that are really understanding each market and then being able to spend the time to go build the relationship. So what ends up happening is that tech companies, you often pick the markets and you say, hey, we're gonna build, because we understand the compliance, we understand the policies, we understand the supply chain, the main operators in this market, so we're gonna focus here. So then what happens is it results in limited options for the state versus the breadth of what I see in California, for example. So like, and I'll put this into a little more context. Arizona, there's like 5 main point of sale systems that are used here from the majority of the market. California, there's like 12 of them. So you see this big differential in just kind of how companies are focusing on understanding that market or really focusing on that market.
Makes
so I
sense.
I think it's interesting to see, just to understand that from you at this early of a stage in the market.
and we are early in adult use, right? But a lot of the way that our initiative was kind of crafted was that the only folks that got into the adult use market from the jump were folks that were operating in the medical market, right? So the folks who are here have been here for about a decade to start. Oof.
Oh no, not the TV.
Uh-oh, the TV.
You guys are like 14 minutes.
All right.
Okay, perfect.
It lives. It lives.
Well, so I guess.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sure you'll cut that out.
I'm gonna keep it.
Well, okay, so to close us out, I mean, any like what are you most excited about for, the next year? What do you think is, I don't know, gonna have the most growth?
Yeah, I think so. For me, and obviously Arizona is much more than just a desert, but everyone should come and visit at any time of the year, right? But I think for me, living in the desert, living in the Phoenix area, one of the things that always strikes me is that life finds a way. This is a desert, right? We sometimes get 5 inches of rain throughout an entire calendar year, and I think that as legalization sweeps the nation and potentially becomes federally legal, all of the producers and all of the retailers are going to experience downward pricing pressure.
Yeah.
But I think in a market like Arizona,
Yes.
we're going to be a place where life will find a way and cannabis will find a way to continue to be successful. We're a state of about 8 million people, many of those 21 and over. And we are home to the Phoenix Open. We're here right now enjoying a golf tournament, right? So the Phoenix Open, the greatest show on grass, is here. We're a regular host of the Super Bowl, of the NCAA Final Four. So in addition to having a very healthy population, we have a very healthy rotation of visitors who spend significant amounts of time here. So Arizona will always be a strong market, regardless of that kind of race to a downward pricing pressure. And I'm extremely bullish, even though I'm biased. I'm a biased bull, but I'm extremely bullish on both the near-term and long-term future of the Arizona cannabis market.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the time. It's been great to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's not blow away now.
Yeah.
Plug your website again. Where can people go? What should they learn? What should they read?
azdispensaries.org, and we're on Instagram at arizona.dispensaries.